Morning, gardeners and homesteaders. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. And yeah, I know the title's a little bit confusing, but it is late winter, but we're doing a spring garden tour. And the reason why is because spring doesn't really tell us anything about when to plant or anything like that. It's all about our weather. So I'm going to go around and show you everything in the garden today, and we'll see how it's all progressing. I know you've seen glimpses of it, but we're going to talk in a little bit more detail about each bed and even the greenhouse. Now, yesterday we got about an inch or so of rain, and the garden just absolutely loved it. Everything literally grew overnight, so this is perfect timing. Even had to wait a little bit because there's one bed in particular that we'll get to when we get to the wild garden that I want to show you that I'm doing, and we're going to follow that and just kind of see what happens. You never know what's going to happen, right? But let's start here and then we'll go around. So our onion and garlic bed is actually doing very well. This back half, or this back row here, is all garlic, and it's doing very well. So I need to pull that weed. But the onions are actually growing, and you see how they're all laying over? It doesn't matter. We're still fertilizing it pretty heavy. The next watering that we give, we will be fertilizing all these beds except for that bed and this bed, and that's it. So we want to go ahead and we want to feed these as much as possible until we see them bulb. Once those Vidalia onions start to bulb, you stop feeding them altogether, and so we want to go ahead and just pump them up as much as possible, get the greens as big as possible, and then let them roll. And oh, just for the record, I'm in coastal North Carolina for this, and you can tell by what I'm wearing today that it is a warm day. We're touching right around 70 today, so it's good. We're on the downward slope, but our potatoes have all come up very nicely. You can see, and I remember I did that video about I was going to use 2 different methods. Well, I started that process, but I need to get some more straw for it. I actually the other day just went out and grabbed whatever was left on the ground to put around it, and just kind of start that process. I'm gonna get some more straw and then do a proper hilling when they all get about, I'd say when we get about this much stem showing, we'll do it again, and I think we'll just go ahead right away and just finish mounding this dirt over it. I'll just get more roots going to it. So they're all doing well. I believe these are the Yukon potatoes that we have in this bed. The other one over there, which was started 2 weeks later, I believe is the Kennebec, and we'll go check. I haven't even checked on those in a couple days, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Finishing up our Brussels sprout harvest. Sorry, I stumbled on my word there. But everything here is just ready to be harvested at our leisure. But you can see this is what I envisioned a proper Brussels sprout being like. So now we kind of know where we stand with that. And I've cleared out all of the plants that weren't going to produce like I wanted. And at this point, within the next week or 2, this bed will be completely empty. Once that bed's empty, we'll rework it. We will re-mulch it, weed it, get everything ready, and then we're just gonna let it rest for probably the next month until we get our peppers in this bed. I believe this one's gonna be peppers, so we'll just let it go. This one's been planted pretty hard. It's been growing for, hell, these have been in here since August, maybe even July. So we just wanna give it time to kind of rejuvenate. We'll give it a nice fertilizer, put some compost in it, just a nice, maybe ½ inch worth of compost, mulch it, turn it, and then we'll be ready to plant. Check out the broccoli bed. I mean, my goodness. So this is an heirloom in the back. This is Calabrese broccoli in the back, and it is a much taller plant than this green magic. Every single broccoli plant in here, except for one, did good. I'm not worried about that one. I'll just leave a little space for the angels to play. It works all right. But we have a month to get this to head up, and it looks like some of these may be getting ready to start heading. So we need to feed this heavy. And what I'm curious about in these is, even though this Calabrese is a taller plant and it's an heirloom, I'm curious to see which head's gonna get bigger. Is it gonna be the Green Magic or the Calabrese broccoli? If you guys have an opinion on that, let me know. I'm taking bets. There's no spread or anything like that. Well, there might be, you never know. But we'll see how it goes. But I'm hoping that we actually get a full harvest. We planted this bed a month earlier than normal. So normally we put them out around the first to second week of February, and we got these in about the second week of January. And if it works out great, then that's what we're going to be our target for the next year. It's just really hit or miss. I know when I plant broccoli in the spring, a lot of times it will bolt before I get a chance to get to it. So hopefully this year we will bypass that altogether. So this bed has got black mamba kale, bobcat cabbages, and then I believe this is Bloomsdale spinach that we have growing. It's either that or Sun Angel, I can't remember. And honestly, not that concerned about it, but everything is going very well here. When I seeded this, I used that Veramos seeder I use. Actually, I'll link a video at the end to that seeder because I really like it. But again, I did the same thing I did last year and couldn't tell how much seed was coming out, so I double seeded each row. So it's a little crammed, so I'm gonna come in and just clear it out. And this blank spot here is actually where an animal came and dug up, which we're gonna see more of that soon. But everything's growing well. I do fully expect these cabbages to overtake these spinaches in some case, and I'm okay with that. This is just me figuring out what my spacing needs to be in the future. But it looks like, based on the spacing I have for this cabbage, that it's well spaced. There's going to be plenty of room for them to grow, and they won't be all crammed like in this back bed we're going to look at in a few minutes. This one here is our lettuce in the front, clearly. And then we have two types of lettuce. So in the front row, you have little gem lettuce. In the front two rows, you have little gem lettuce, and in the back two rows, you have Vivian lettuce. And I'll show you why it's so cool, why I think it's so cool that I did that. Can you see right there? And I'll try and explain it to you how it goes up like this. So this is a smaller type. So the sun, most of the sun is going to come from this way, and it won't impede the sunlight coming to the back. So I kind of planned it out that way. And I plopped these in here. About a week ago, I put these rutabagas in, and there's a little bit of an issue here, but I'm not overly concerned. I mean, the issue comes when fertilizing them, because the lettuce needs more nitrogen than the rutabaga. And we got a little taste of that in what is now the broccoli bed over the winter, where our rutabagas got more nitrogen than they needed. And they ended up getting long, pointy roots instead of the big round ones. So what we're gonna do is, instead of drip feeding that bed, we're just gonna hand water the lettuce and hand feed the lettuce. And that way we'll try and localize a little bit of the fertilizer. A little bit will obviously bleed over, but it won't be, hopefully, that bad. And then we can kind of control that all the way around. So hopefully that'll work. But this bed here, we're gonna empty out as well. Right now, you can see, if you've been following this channel over the winter, this bed is emptying out, which is by design. And so what we're doing is we're taking one head of cabbage a week from this bed as of right now. So you can see this is gonna be the next head of cabbage. This is a bobcat cabbage, and this is actually a pretty good size. So I could leave it a little bit longer, but we eat a lot of cabbage. So we're gonna pull that up, and then we just kind of go based on size at this point. I would really like to take out that cabbage next, because it is a little bit crowded, but if we can't get it out, we can't. And we'll feed this bed again until these cabbages come up. We will continue feeding it so that it will fill up, and it clearly needs to be weeded at some point in the near future. And I also have a drip line in here. This drip line that comes down this way, an animal chewed, and I just crimped it in the winter. And so from this point to here, this plant has actually gotten 0 water from me. It's only been naturally watered all winter, or whatever has came from the rest of the watering, which probably isn't much. So that's why it's a little bit smaller, but we're gonna need to dig up that line and fix it, which is just a normal process. don't really get too butthurt about it because I personally like digging into the dirt, getting it kind of stirred up a little bit. I don't have to mulch it, but I do need to go through and get it kind of stirred up a little bit. So what's going on in your gardens? What are you planting? What are you getting ready to plant? What are you doing in your gardens? Let us know in the comments below because it helps a lot of other people. And also the next video is going to be about my seed shelf. I'm gonna do a seed shelf tour and just kind of knock that out and show you some new things that are going on there. That brings us over to our pots here, and we've just got some cabbages that I've had growing since the fall. Same thing, I haven't really been watering them much, but they are starting to head up. So we're looking forward to getting those out. And then I'm probably going to put basil in at least 2 of these pots to feed the bees over the summer. I'm not sure exactly what I want to put here. We put some spinach in this pot, and then we had like terrible rains, and you can see that all the seeds kind of piled up. So I don't know what we're going to do. We may pull it up. We may just let it run. Who knows? And then after the video, I'm actually going to come to this pot here. And I'm probably gonna plant these radishes here. So these are the seeds from the Backyard Gardens podcast we just started selling. Link is below if you're interested. They're all direct sowable for this year. And these are just early Scarlet Globe radishes. So we'll be putting those in just to kind of get another round of radishes in for the spring. And then we come over here to the greenhouse. Everything is going very well in here. We're gonna let our mustard bolt, and it smells amazing, believe it or not. And then the cabbages here are doing well, but you can see there's a little bit of a shading issue, so I might have to cut the mustard. I'm not sure what I want to do just yet, totally. But as of right now, we're just going to let it run. The kale's doing well. We need to harvest this kale. And then what we're going to do here is we're actually going to harvest another round or 2 of spinach. But at the same time, I think I'm gonna come out here and put tomatoes in early here. I know you're probably thinking like, you just did the video about temptation, and you're exactly right, I did. But if this is exactly like they say, and it raises your zone by 1, which I know zones don't matter, but in this conversation it does, because that's your lowest low temperature. And we're consistently 5 degrees above the low in the greenhouse if we shut it up at night. At this point, we should be able to get our tomatoes in here a month earlier, theoretically. Don't know if it's gonna work. Don't care. I'm still gonna try and see what happens. I mean, you just don't know. You know, this is part of this whole gardening experience, is just testing these things out. If it fails, whatever, I've got plenty of other seedlings that I'm gonna do in the rest of my garden. I'm not wasting anything, but this is a measured approach. So we're gonna see how it goes, but it should go pretty good. So this pisses me off. Here's our peas. Look at that. Something came out here and dug bad in it last night. I mean, just real bad. So nothing really got damaged, it doesn't look like, but we need to stay on top of this. I'm gonna put a sonic deterrent out here tonight, so anything that comes up, it'll set off a little ultrasound alarm to turn it off. But I mean, it got in here and just dug. So the problem when it does this, let's see if it did it. They get in here and they'll chew the lines up, but this one actually this time did not get chewed up, so hopefully it'll be okay. But I mean, they came in here and just tore it up. And that's part of this time of year. You get these things, you'll get animals that are coming out of dormancy. They're coming out of hibernation. When I say hibernate, because they're not actually hibernating, but there's just not been a lot of food around, and they're gonna start digging your garden up and searching, and you're just gonna have to combat it the best you can. So we're gonna come over here to the wild garden. See, we've got our taters, and our little friend hit us here too. So good to know, real good to know. But these are starting to come up. It looks to me like all of them are germinating at this point, so that's very good. This is my son's potato bed this year. And well, this is kind of like ours combined. My son's bed's actually right here, and that's our carrots. And you can see these are our winter carrots back here, and these are our spring carrots. And so everything's coming up nicely. We're gonna harvest these when they're ready. They're clearly not ready yet. And then we'll end up putting watermelon behind them because he wants to grow watermelons. And so we're gonna do the crimson sweet watermelon, which is also a watermelon we have in our store. So we'll see how that goes. And so this is where things start to get interesting. I put a double row of beets right here, and you can see they're starting to come up. And then the rest, I believe, is radishes. So all of this is gonna be radishes. We're gonna come out and thin them a little bit and see what happens. Then I went a little crazy in this last bed. So what I did is I just had a plethora of seeds that I just don't care about. And I was talking about this recently in the Backyard Gardens podcast. Either they're getting old or I've just gone to new varieties or something. So what I did is I just started planting rows and rows and rows of seeds. Don't really care if they grow. If they grow, great. I'll water them, whatever. I didn't even bury the lines yet. I just kind of left them out. So I just kind of want to see what happens. Some of the seeds were 3, 4, 5 years old. And like, again, some of them I just didn't care about. So they have been slower to germinate, but they are starting to come up. So I don't know exactly what's in here. You can see there's a row back there, part of a row that's coming up, and it's starting to spread out here. I know we put some kohlrabi in, we put some radishes in, I think we put some turnips. I did give up on my parsnips and just buried them, didn't even care, and then now they're starting to come up. So we're just gonna let this bed do whatever the hell it wants. And this is the reason behind a wild garden, ultimately, was just to let things grow the way that we want them, they want to grow, and not really interfere. And using that bed like that is gonna work out pretty good, hopefully. And if not, it's gonna work the soil, and then we can just replant come spring. I'm not even gonna wait. When I'm ready to put something in the ground there, I'm gonna put something in the ground. I'm not gonna give it another chance. Just to kind of start rounding out the full tour, I'll show you the bees are getting ready to grow. So they're getting busy. You can see the figure eights they're flying right there. Those are all orientation flights of baby bees. They're bringing in pollen and nectar now. And then we've got these other hives out here that are acclimating, getting ready to add new bees added to them when we create more bees. And the subject of the bees, I put a poll up recently that said, do you want to see in-depth bee videos on this channel? And a lot of people said yes, but I didn't feel like it was a good representative amount for the channel as a whole. So what I did is I created a whole new channel that's only going to be bees. And it's called Sandy Bottom Bees. There should be a post. You've probably seen it. I'll mention it again. If you want to follow it and see how we're progressing in this, then by all means follow it. But if you don't care about bees, don't think you're doing me a favor by following, because really that doesn't help in YouTube at all. It helps if you follow, watch, like, and comment and all that stuff. But I'll talk about the bees here basically like I did there. I'm not going to go in depth. I'm not going to break open the hives on this channel, because I realize that there are gardeners here that just care about gardening and they don't care about bees in depth like that, and they don't care about starting bees. And I completely respect that, and I respect your time, and I respect all the notifications that you're probably getting and stuff like that. So we're just going to eliminate that from this channel. Again, they'll be mentioned like this. Anything big happens, we'll mention it, but everything else will go on to that other channel. So it's kind of exciting, kind of sucks, but it is what it is, and I totally understand and respect everybody for that. And hopefully if you want to follow, you can, because we're also starting another apiary up the road that I'm working with on my mentor, so you can see us, follow us on that one as well. And I'm happy to announce that our chickens are laying eggs yet again. So we went from getting 0 eggs to 11 eggs a day. They love taking dirt baths. They love dropping eggs, as you can see right there, wherever the hell they want. And then let's see if we can get any eggs this morning. Got some eggs. Somebody decided to shit all over an egg, but at least we got them. So this is the first round of them. We've been getting eggs. We have to come out and get them every day because we've got one chicken that feels the need to peck the eggs. So we're working on that. A lot of times that's just because maybe there's not enough water, which there is. And it could also be a calcium deficiency. So we're gonna start adding oyster shells to their feed. and that usually helps fix it. So we also put golf balls in the hen boxes, and then they'll take those, they'll peck them, it'll hurt their beak, and then usually it helps stop. But every year this time, we always deal with that. For the past 11 years, that's what we've dealt with. So in late winter, just before spring, the garden's fully planted and ready to go. I'm extremely happy with the way things are going. Now it's just all about the weather.